We don't have to make this fool, but we can. We can.
Run me up into the damn grass.
Born up beside me. But if you get me again, I'll put out of the racetrack. You bet on that.
Go for it.
We can go.
I can
bet
do
on
it
that.
too, man.
I'll
That's
guarantee
right.
you we can make it work.
Hey, Dale, you spotted it. Tell you I did that because I was.
He truly hated him more than anyone. For most of his career, Jeff Gordon was the face of control. Calm in interviews, measured under pressure, and polished in a sport built on noise and confrontation. But there was one moment when that control cracked one afternoon, when Gordon stopped hiding what he really felt. Martinsville, 2007. A race that should have been routine turned into the clearest display of internal conflict Hendrick Motorsports had ever seen. Gordon wanted the win. His teammate wanted the win. And for the first time, the entire garage realized how badly Gordon hated being undermined. It was not the wrecks at Bristol. It was not the shoves, the chrome horn hits, or the verbal jabs from the old guard. It was this. A teammate who raced him harder than enemies ever did. A teammate who took the line he needed, disrupted his rhythm, and forced him into decisions he never wanted to make. The radio calls that day sounded tense in a way that surprised even his crew. Gordon pushed, Johnson pushed back, and the truth surfaced quietly. This was not rivalry, built on crashes. It was rivalry, built on pride. Years before Martinsville, Gordon already carried bruises from Earnhardt, Stewart, Burton, and Kenseth. But none of them drew that look from him. None of them made him tighten his jaw the way he did climbing out of the 24 car that afternoon. The fans felt it. The media saw it. NASCAR knew it. There was one man Jeff Gordon could not stand more than anyone else. One man who broke through the polished surface and exposed the frustration underneath. Before we start counting them down, we need to remember who Jeff Gordon truly was. Jeff Gordon was born on August 4, 1971 in Vallejo, California, but his real identity was shaped on the dirt tracks and quarter-midget circuits of the American West. While most kids spent weekends at parks or ball fields, Gordon spent his learning how to steer, slide, and stay alive in machines far too powerful for someone his age. By 13, he was already a prodigy. By 15, he was breaking records. And by the time he reached Indiana to chase bigger competition, grown men twice his age were quietly admitting they wanted nothing to do with him on race nights. His arrival in the NASCAR Cup Series in the early 1990s changed stock car racing forever. Hendrick Motorsports put him in the 24, a car that would soon become one of the most recognizable machines in NASCAR history. Gordon's style confused veterans. He was aggressive but not wild, calculated but not passive. He could attack a corner with precision one lap and defend like a wall the next. The sport had never seen a driver who blended open-wheel finesse with stock car toughness so naturally. Success came quickly. Gordon collected wins at Charlotte, Darlington, Daytona, and nearly every major track in the rotation. He won 4 Winston Cup championships and dominated the late 1990s with a consistency that felt almost unfair. But greatness never arrives alone. It brings friction. Gordon became the young face of a changing NASCAR, a threat to the old guard, and a magnet for controversy every time he beat a fan favorite. Drivers tested him. Fans booed him. Commentators questioned him. And every rivalry that surfaced carried a different piece of pressure. Gordon rarely cracked on camera, but inside the garage, the list of men he could not stand was longer than people realized. To understand why one man topped that list, we need to walk through the battles that shaped him. Number 5. Dale Earnhardt Sr. Jeff Gordon never forgot the lessons Dale Earnhardt Sr. taught him, and none of them were gentle. Their rivalry began the moment Gordon arrived in the Cup Series. Earnhardt was the intimidator, the enforcer of old-school NASCAR, a man who believed every newcomer needed to be tested until something cracked. Gordon was 22, polished fast, and threatening the balance of a world Earnhardt controlled. The collisions were inevitable. Bristol was where the tone was set. Short track, tight corners, no room to breathe. Gordon tried holding his line through traffic, but Earnhardt treated the rear bumper of the 24 car like an open invitation. A tap here, a shove there. Nothing catastrophic, but every hit delivered a message. You are not taking anything from me without a fight. Gordon held his composure, but the cameras caught everything. The shake of his head, the tension in his jaw, the growing realization that this man would never give him space. Richmond brought more of the same. On long runs, Gordon was faster. On restarts, Earnhardt muscled him aside. Fans loved it. The old guard wanted to see if Gordon could survive the storm. Earnhardt wanted something different. He wanted to break Gordon's rhythm, force him into mistakes, and test whether he truly belonged at the front of the field. Every time Gordon tried to set up a clean pass, Earnhardt disrupted it. Block high, block low, make contact if needed. Gordon called it hard racing. Privately, he hated it. Talladega only deepened the rift. In the draft, Earnhardt treated Gordon as a barrier, not a partner. Gordon needed cooperation to move forward. Earnhardt refused to give it. At 200 miles per hour, that kind of stubbornness feels personal. Their rivalry was built on respect, but it was still a rivalry. One carved into Gordon's memory by every chrome horn tap and every moment Earnhardt denied him the lane he needed. Gordon respected the legend, but he never forgot the hits. Number 4. Tony Stewart. If Dale Earnhardt tested Jeff Gordon with experience, Tony Stewart tested him with fire. Stewart arrived in the Cup Series carrying a reputation Gordon never had to deal with before. He was younger, louder, more explosive, and absolutely unwilling to back down from anyone. Where Gordon relied on calculation and rhythm, Stewart relied on raw aggression. Their rivalry was born from the collision of two completely different temperaments. Watkins Glen became one of the first flashpoints. Road courses reward precision, something Gordon mastered early. But Stewart refused to let Gordon control the pace. He crowded Gordon's mirrors, shoved his nose into gaps that barely existed, and forced him into defensive lines he normally never had to use. After the race, Stewart made comments about Gordon racing him too politely, a jab that irritated the 24 team. Gordon did not bite back publicly, but inside the garage, the tension sharpened. New Hampshire made things worse. Late in the race, Gordon attempted a clean overtake entering turn 3. Stewart slammed the door shut, forcing Gordon to lift sharply to avoid wrecking both cars. On pit road afterward, Stewart walked past Gordon without a glance, as if the move needed no explanation. That indifference struck Gordon harder than the block itself. Stewart raced as if Gordon owed him space, and Gordon hated the assumption. Martinsville deepened the hostility. Tight turns, heavy braking, and short tempers. Stewart bumped Gordon repeatedly, claiming he was trying to move him up the track. Gordon responded with a hard shove of his own, clean but deliberate. Stewart marched toward Gordon's hauler after the race before crew members intervened. The message was clear. This rivalry was not philosophical. It was personal. Stewart represented everything Gordon didn't want to deal with: on track, unpredictability, volatility, and force without restraint. Gordon could outthink almost anyone. Stewart was the rare driver who refused to play by the rules Gordon understood. Tony Stewart never scared Jeff Gordon, but he irritated him in ways statistics could not measure. Number 3. Jeff Burton. Jeff Burton was never the loudest man in the garage. He was never the one throwing helmets, shoving rivals, or demanding attention. But for Jeff Gordon, Burton created a different kind of problem, one that lasted years and gnawed at him every time they shared a track. Burton raced clean, disciplined, and methodical. That should have made things easier. Instead, it made Gordon's frustration sharper. You expect chaos from hotheads. You do not expect it from the driver, known as the mayor. Their tension began at Texas, a place built on speed and precision. Gordon believed he had the stronger car late in the race, but every time he tried to set up a run, Burton closed the door with flawless timing. Not dirty, not reckless, just stubborn enough to deny Gordon the momentum he needed. Afterward, Burton framed it as just good racing. Gordon nodded politely on camera, but inside the hauler he vented. Clean racing is one thing. Making life miserable lap after lap is something else. Phoenix exposed the annoyance even more. On a long green flag run, Burton held Gordon behind him for nearly 20 laps. Gordon tried every trick he had, diamonding corners, diving low, rolling the high line, even baiting Burton into overdriving entry. Nothing worked. Burton matched him, blocked him, squeezed him, and controlled the pace without ever leaving a mark on either car. Gordon eventually passed him, but it took so long that the leaders pulled away. For a driver obsessed with rhythm, that kind of disruption was infuriating. Richmond added the final layer. Burton, in interviews, criticized how Gordon used space and traffic. He said Gordon expected people to move and that NASCAR didn't work that way. Gordon did not respond publicly, but people close to the 24 team knew the comment hit a nerve. Burton was attacking Gordon's identity as a racer, not just his moves on track. Burton was not a villain. He was not dangerous. He was simply a driver who refused to give Gordon an inch even when logic said he should. And that consistency made him one of the most aggravating opponents of Gordon's entire career. Jeff Burton never wrecked Jeff Gordon. He just made him furious the slow, methodical way. Number 2. Matt Kenseth. Matt Kenseth was the kind of driver who could make Jeff Gordon lose patience without ever raising his voice, without ever making contact, and without ever stepping out of line. Kenseth raced with a calm, steady pressure that felt almost surgical. He did not intimidate. He did not provoke. He simply refused to move. And for Gordon, who depended on rhythm, flow, and clean air, Kenseth's brand of stubborn precision became a recurring nightmare. Their tension began building at Chicago, where Gordon believed he had the faster car in the closing laps. Every time Gordon tried to arc his entry or widen his exit, Kenseth positioned his car exactly where Gordon needed to go. No bump, no shove. Just perfectly timed blocking. Gordon tried high-low crossover attempts, even baiting Kenseth into overdriving turn 1. Nothing worked. Kenseth held the line, held his pace, and took the air off Gordon's nose in ways that felt intentional even if they weren't. After the race, Gordon said little, but the look on his face said enough. Atlanta pushed things into open frustration. On a restart, Gordon tried to clear Kenseth off turn 2, but Kenseth kept his foot in it, forcing Gordon to stay side by side longer than he wanted. That killed Gordon's momentum and dropped him 3 positions. Kenseth called it good, hard racing. Gordon called it something different inside the hauler. He hated when someone disrupted his timing, and Kenseth had made a habit of it. Martinsville is where it nearly became a physical confrontation. Gordon felt Kenseth brake-checked him entering turn 3. Kenseth insisted he was just trying to avoid traffic. Gordon confronted him on pit road after the race, stepping close enough that crew members moved in. Kenseth didn't raise his voice. He simply said, "If you're faster, go around me." That one sentence stuck with Gordon longer than the incident itself. Kenseth never attacked Gordon with aggression. He attacked him with patience. He forced Gordon to adapt, to rethink, to hesitate. And for a driver whose edge came from confidence that was infuriating, Matt Kenseth did not overpower Jeff Gordon. He suffocated him one clean lap at a time. Number 1. Jimmie Johnson. Jimmie Johnson was not the rival Jeff Gordon hated because of wrecks, fists, or pit road shouting matches. He was the rival Gordon hated because of what he represented. Johnson was the one man who took Gordon's kingdom, walked straight into the throne room of Hendrick Motorsports, and quietly became everything Gordon had spent a decade building. There was no disrespect, no cheap shots, no public drama. But the damage ran deeper than anything a chrome horn could deliver. It began in the early 2000s when Johnson joined Hendrick with Gordon as his mentor. At first, Gordon saw him as an extension of his own legacy, someone who would reinforce Hendrick's dominance, not challenge it. But as seasons passed, it became clear that Johnson was something different. He was consistent in a way that felt mechanical. He was calm in moments where Gordon used to take control. And most importantly, Johnson won, over and over again. The turning point came at Martinsville 2007. Gordon needed the win. He had the car to control the race. But Johnson refused to yield. He raced Gordon harder than he raced his actual enemies. He protected the inside line with a precision that cut through Gordon's patience, and when he took the lead for good, Gordon's radio tone shifted. This was not anger directed at a single move. It was the realization that the balance of power inside Hendrick was changing. At Pocono 2004, Johnson out-strategized Gordon on fuel. At Charlotte, he outran him. At Phoenix, he out-timed him on restarts. None of it was dirty. None of it crossed the line. And that was exactly why it burned deeper. Gordon could not call it unfair. He could not call it reckless. Johnson simply beat him at the game Gordon helped define. Every championship Johnson earned pushed Gordon further away from the position he once owned. By the time Johnson strung together 5 consecutive titles, the truth was unavoidable. Gordon was no longer the top dog at Hendrick. The student had surpassed the master, not with force, but with excellence. Jimmie Johnson did not just take victories from Jeff Gordon. He took the era that was supposed to belong to him. Ray Evernham was never an opponent Jeff Gordon faced on the racetrack, but he was one of the few people who could shake Gordon in ways no rival car ever could. As the architect of the Rainbow Warriors and the mastermind behind Gordon's rise, Evernham understood Gordon's strengths, weaknesses, rhythms, and moods better than anyone. That intimacy made their eventual separation feel less like a career shift and more like a quiet fracture inside the 24 team. In the 1990s, Gordon and Evernham were inseparable as a competitive force. Evernham's strategies were bold, creative, and perfectly suited for Gordon's precision-based driving. He called pit stops earlier than anyone short-pitted, when others hesitated and pushed Gordon to exploit lines most drivers never attempted. Their communication on the radio felt almost telepathic. When Gordon won, Evernham's fingerprints were all over it. But dominance breeds change, and change does not always land softly. When Evernham left Hendrick Motorsports to spearhead the Dodge program, it hit Gordon harder than he expected. Publicly, he celebrated Evernham's new opportunity. Privately, he felt abandoned. This was the man who had built him, believed in him, shaped his racing identity. And suddenly, in the middle of Gordon's prime, that partnership ended. The cracks appeared even before the departure became official. Radio traffic grew sharper. Disagreements about strategy lingered longer. Gordon felt Evernham was distracted by the future, and Evernham felt Gordon resisted, adapting to a shifting competitive landscape. Nothing exploded publicly, but the tension lived in the pauses between their words. When Evernham walked away, Gordon lost more than a crew chief. He lost the one voice that had always kept him centered. The Rainbow Warriors changed, the chemistry shifted, and Gordon entered a phase of his career where he had to reinvent himself without the man who had helped define his racing instincts. Ray Evernham was never a villain. He was simply the one person who challenged Jeff Gordon in ways no driver could, exposing the emotional pressure behind his polished exterior. Jeff Gordon's career was built on speed, precision, and a calm exterior that rarely cracked under pressure. But the rivalries that shaped him told a different story. Dale Earnhardt pushed him with force. Tony Stewart pushed him with volatility. Jeff Burton pushed him with patience. Matt Kenseth pushed him with quiet stubbornness. And Jimmie Johnson pushed him with something far more personal, a shift in power that Gordon could never fully control. Even Ray Evernham, the man who helped build his dynasty, tested the emotional foundation beneath the surface. Each of these men exposed a part of Gordon the public did not always see. The frustration, the pride, the vulnerability that lived underneath the polished interviews and sponsor-friendly image. Gordon was not a driver who chased conflict, but conflict followed him because he threatened eras, changed expectations, and forced the sport to evolve. When fans look back at his career, they remember the championships, the iconic 24 car, and the battles that defined the 1990s and 2000s. But the truth runs deeper. Gordon's greatness was sharpened by the men he could not stand. Their pressure created his edge. Their presence forced him to elevate. And their resistance shaped the legacy that will outlast every statistic. He did not need to like them. He just needed them to become who he was. In NASCAR, some truths last longer than any checkered flag.